So let's get started. All right, so I have a special guest tonight. He's the product specialist of PropStream. Okay, and he's been with the team for, nearly a decade. This guy is like a wizard with this. I mean, he taught me some things how we're using our PropStream account that's gonna freaking blow your mind. And I'm sharing it. We're closing deals left and right. We're getting leads left and right. This also is allowing us to make offers without even seeing the property because it has MLS data, which we're going to show you in this webinar tonight. He's been dealing with wholesalers. I mean, this is geared towards you guys, wholesalers like myself, investors like myself, fix and flippers. I do a little bit of fix and flipping, not as much as I used to, but I still do it. Buyers, lenders, real estate agents, brokers, you name it. It's basically geared towards us real estate guys. And then, specifically wholesalers, we have to know how to find deals. If whoever finds the deals in the most consistent way is going to be the best wholesaler. I mean, you can have little to no money, but if you can find the deal, you have the power. And this tool gives you the brains, and you look like a wizard when you know how to find deals and bring them to your cash buyer on a consistent basis. And you don't have to tell them that you're using this, but but they will pay you for your assignment fees for your deals for bringing them a great deal on a platter. Burton is very familiar with what most investors like ourselves is looking for, which I love. I'm not bringing anybody on this. I'm bringing him on here for a reason. Okay. This is a tool we're using for vacant properties, finding cash buyers, running comps. We do skip tracing, all in one tool. And I'm just naming just a few things we do here. I love it. So I don't advise on real estate strategies necessarily, but with Burton, I highly recommend you listen to this guy. He's going to peel back the curtain. We're just going to show you demo. We're not just going to give you we're not going to just give you PowerPoint and you're going to see slides black and white. We're going to show you the account, like what it looks like, how to pull comps, how to find the cash buyers, how to find vacant properties in your market. This is in your market. This is my market. This works in all of our markets. You don't need a realtor's license to do this. We're talking about how to find wholesale deals, whether you find wholesale deals to keep as rentals, fix and flip. And a lot of you guys, you're trying to get deals on the contract so you can wholesale them out with cash buyers. And by the way, this is going to give you cash buyers as well. So I want to, without further ado, I want to introduce my man, Burton. Are you there, Burton?
Hey, how's it going, Antonio? Thanks for having me on board. And everybody, thanks for having your time to speak. I appreciate it, man.
I'm super stoked, man. I'm so excited about this.
Oh, I am too, man. With that said, let me just kind of give you a brief history about who we are. We've been in the industry for about 14 years. We've been collecting data since 2005. What we do is we go out there, just like you guys can, go to the county recorder's office, pull data. We do that across all the states, all 50 states. We also
Can you hear me real quick?
Yeah.
A lot of people saying there's echo.
I think that might be from your end, perhaps.
Okay, I'm going to mute.
Okay, perfect. Echo should be good now. So yeah, what we do is we've been collecting data since 2005. So 14 years of collecting data. What we do is what you guys are doing, right? We go to the county directly. We go get that information, nothing different than what you guys can do. But what has changed is the technology, right? If we go back 10 years, what most of you guys were doing is going to the county, grabbing your pre-foreclosure records, grabbing your tax lien records, grabbing a certain category, and then marketing to that category. Well, with technology, with us collecting data, and we have 11 categories to choose from, you're going to be able to create new leads that you never thought about, leads that you can't even go to the county and find. So without further delay, now that you know a little bit about us and how long we've been doing this, let me show you what the product is all about. So here is a snapshot. Here's a login page. First thing you do is you log in, and what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in onto your area for you. So we're going to capture your IP address. We're going to zoom in onto your market because the assumption there is that's where you market, or that's where you're going to be starting, right? But don't worry, nationwide data means your entire playground is all of the United States. So being that I'm in California, I saw someone in the chat box say Jacksonville, Florida. So we can type in Jacksonville, and what's going to happen is we're going to zoom in into Jacksonville for you. And at the top, we're going to show you all of the categories that you have access to filter through, right? So in Jacksonville, I have 48,000 MLS records I can go through. These are active, pending, failed, contingent, sold. So if you're an investor looking to run comps using MLS records, or you're an investor looking for expired listings or below market price listings, or maybe you're just looking for a house to buy in a whole different market, that's your MLS box right there. And so again, this isn't something that the average person has access to. This is something that we went and negotiated with brokers and agents to get that information. What I mean by that is when you click on this box, your results will isolate on the right-hand side. You can click on that property. You can see the MLS photos by clicking on the photo at the top. And we're going to also give you county records, mortgage records. You're going to have the agent's information, again, photos. But what we're doing is we're taking a category or a list type, in this case, the MLS. We're putting it here for you. So you have the MLS listing. So this is just what an agent would see. What we do differently is we tie in all the other details like the county records. You'll know the owner's name and if they live in a different address, property characteristics, HOA information, site information, last sell information, which also includes mortgage information. See, this is what we do differently. It's not just we're going to get county records and that's it. We're going above and beyond to get you things that you need to know, like what the mortgage is, when it was recorded, the interest rate of that mortgage, how long the mortgage is for, and the type of loan that's being used. And the reason why we do that is so we can calculate a better mortgage balance for you, right? So rather than going by the sell amount, right? In this case, the sell amount was 158. Being that there was a down payment, you're actually starting at 155. Now, for those of you guys who are looking, you're like, well, 155 in 2009, why are they still at 135? Well, it's because we go and get mortgage information. So yes, they did buy the property back in 2009, but 6 years later, they pulled the refinance on the property, right? So they refinanced the property with Wells Fargo for 146. That's why the balance is here today, right? See, what most providers do is they don't go find the mortgage information. They just go with the original recorded amount. So you're sitting there thinking, oh, okay, well, the last activity on this property was 10 years ago, right? So they've been making mortgage payments on that amount for 10 years. Therefore, their mortgage balance is like $80,000. You call the owner and guess what? You're caught off guard because you didn't know that they filed a refinance on the property or they pulled a home equity line of credit. So one thing that we do differently is we also get mortgage information for you. That way we can calculate where they're really at, plus or minus, for you to get a better understanding of what you need to pay out in order to take this property in possession. You also get transaction history. You can see if there's been any transfers in the family, as well as documents and reports. This gives you access to the assessor's map, the document image scan, like the deed of the property if you want to buy it. Now, every property has this layout. What you're also able to do is run comps now. So I found a property that's in the MLS listings. I'm interested in it. Here are the variables at top, what we value it for, what the last sell record was, what our system believes to be the comps. Now, if you're like me, you've watched enough Terminator movies and you don't believe in computers because they're dangerous. So what you can do is run your own comps, guys. So you can go to our comparable section down here, and now you're in control of your ARV. So what I mean by that is you have 3 categories to run comps on. First one is county records. So just like anybody else here in this channel, we all have access to this information. We can just go to the county, get those sell records, and we can filter it. See, that's the cool thing about a product is if you go to the county, they just give you a stack of papers. You have to manually siphon through that. Our product allows you to actually narrow your results. So we can look for comps in the last year or comps in the last 6 months, for example. We can apply property characteristics, and all we're doing is apples to apples, right? We're just looking for all the 3 bedrooms, all the 2 bathrooms. And what's gonna happen, it's just gonna narrow down our results. It's gonna say, hey, Burton, based on your characteristics, I have 11 selected. Your average sell price is 275 days on market. We can go through those results and even deselect, like here's a 5-bedroom one, so I'm gonna remove that. Perhaps any 4 bedrooms that are outside of my market, like 11 and 8 are too far. And so as you're making your selections, your variables will change, right? What's cool about that is now that I have my comps, my apples to apples, I can hit view report. And in a second, I have now a comps report I can provide to my buyer. So take a look at how this report lays out for you. So it tells my buyer, hey, here's the subject property. Here's the low comp value. Here's the average. And here's the highest value you can get in the market. And I also show them the comps based on their distance. So the closest all the way to the furthest. Now, the idea here is we're no longer telling the buyer, this is the exact ARV. We're telling the buyer, hey, the ARV is in your control, right? I have a contract for you that's $120,000. If you buy that contract for $120,000, depending on how much you rehab it for, you can list it for $220, the lowest, average $270, or if you put a lot of into it, maybe add a room, second story, or whatever it may be, $363 is the highest you can go. So what we're doing is we're just laying out the stats, and now our buyer can determine what they want to do with the property. But that should at least let them know that, hey, 120 for a contract, and I can make at least 100,000 or maybe 200,000 in profit. I'm most willing I'm probably gonna consider buying that contract from you at this point. So you have county recorded comps, you have neighboring records. What if you're in an area where the property was built in 1920, right? Or you're in a cul-de-sac or a gated community. We give you neighboring records so you can take a look at your neighboring records and see if anybody sold in the last 2 years and add your market increase value to the calculation. And last but certainly not least, MLS status. So you're now the agent. So now what we're doing is we're saying, hey, around this property, there's 150 MLS listings, the most recent one from as early as yesterday to as far as we go to 150. So now you can be the agent and say, you know what? I just want the listings in the last 30 days. I want just the sold listings, and I want all the 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. And so now I'm tapping into the MLS data in the network or in this environment, and I'm able to see what's listed and why it's listed. I can actually click on the property, go to the details of the property, and I'm able to see that listing information. And I think this is important because some of you guys are in a non-disclosure state. Some of you guys are in Texas. You don't get sale records, right? Guess what? The MLS details doesn't do that. The MLS details will show you what it's listed for and what it actually sold for. And in some cases, that's things that are not even recorded in the county sometimes. So this one, they're pushing it fast, but that's what I mean by the data that we're providing. It's not just county, it's MLS records. So if I'm in Texas, these 2 boxes will not work for me at all. If I'm in New Mexico and other non-disclosure states, these 2 boxes will not work for me. This would be the only category. So again, we're giving you guys full control of running your comp. So this is what you're gonna see when you're clicking on a property detail. So now that you guys kind of see what happens when you click on a property, now you know that you have access to 11 categories. So that was just the MLS box. If I click on the pre-foreclosure box, I get my pre-foreclosure records. I click on that and it tells me a story. Hey, Mr. Michael Bridgman here is in pre-foreclosure. The auction's gonna be next year in January. Here's the unpaid balance. Did you also know that Michael has filed for bankruptcy as well and it's a current open case? So we went from just a single pre-foreclosure listing, right? But now we found a pre-foreclosure with the bankruptcy. So his level of distress just went up above everybody else in pre-foreclosure. And that's because we have that information here for you. So what has really made us popular, right? As I told you guys, you can go to the county, you can get this information, but why have people been talking about us? 2 reasons. A, the details that I just showed you, and B, the filtering. So the filtering allows you to apply over 100 different criterias to come up with things that you've never heard about or things that you can't find at the county's office. For example, I can go into Jacksonville, Florida, go to the filter and tell, for this example, I know a lot of you guys look for non-owner occupied property. So we're gonna look for a non-owner occupied property or an absentee owner, as you guys would say. So owner occupied, no. I'm now looking for all the properties that have an owner not registered living there. I can then choose the category I want to filter through. So you have 11, MLS, pre-foreclosures, foreclosures, liens, cash buyers, high equity, vacant, free, clear, bankruptcy, divorce, and auctions. So I can tell the system, you know what? Go through the lien records, right? And the reason why I'm doing this as an example, let's think of a situation, for example, right? I'm a wholesaler. Clearly, I want properties with equity. I also want properties that are not listed with an agent. And then let's also add the idea that maybe pre-foreclosures are very competitive in Jacksonville, right? Everyone's sending postcards to pre-foreclosure records. So this system will allow me to stay away from that. How do I do that? That's the filter. So once I apply, whether it's occupied or not, or both, and then I choose the distress category, in this example, liens or bankruptcy, for example, I can now start working downwards and start adding my characteristics. So like, For example, if I have a buyer that only wants single family and multifamily, I can ask the system to only isolate the liens that are single family, multifamily. I can put a minimum maximum year built. So if I have a buyer that likes properties built on or before 2000, max year built 2000 or earlier. I can apply bedrooms, bathroom square footage, lot square footage, and home features. So you guys can see how we can narrow down your results. Once I'm done with the property characteristics, I can now layer MLS records. What I'm doing right now is I'm taking these 9,000 results and cross-referencing it with the MLS records. So we can do some really cool things like, for most of us, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to MLS status and we're gonna say on market no, right? We want a property that's not on market. We're trying to get to them before they get to an agent or broker and decide to list the property, right? So that's one approach. I've seen other people do this. Find me a failed listing rather, right? So show me somebody that's in pre-foreclosure that tried to contact an agent, they tried to list it and it failed. And I have 166 results that meet that criteria. So I went from 9,000 liens to 166 property owners that tried to list their property and it failed. Or if it's not failed, we can even do things like maybe a property that's currently active. And I know you guys are like, oh, that's cringy. Why would you look for an active property? There's no way you can deal with them right now. And you're right. I can't deal with an active property right now. But what if I'm looking for an active property that's been on the market for 180 days, right? That's 6 months on the market. It's going to expire pretty soon, right? I have 48 people I can contact right now and plant that seed. And hopefully when that expires, they're going to call me first before everybody else. Right? And that's because we're just layering things. So again, you can come up with all sorts of angles. For this example, we're just going to do on market no. All right, and we're going to remove the 80 days, 180 days. So we're done with MLS status, and you guys can see we're layering. The next category we can layer is foreclosure status. So again, we're taking this category and cross-referencing it with our foreclosure category. So we can do things like find me a property with a tax lien that has a pre-foreclosure, a little lag here, pre-foreclosure with a certain document type. Maybe I want pre-foreclosures that were just recorded 3 weeks ago, or it has a certain default amount, or the auction date will be January of next year, for example. Or as I mentioned, maybe in Jacksonville, pre-foreclosures are very competitive. So we need to stay away from that. How do we do that? Pre-foreclosure status, none. I have 1,700 property owners with a lien against their property or themselves that have not yet reached out to a broker and they're not yet in pre-foreclosure. What's the idea here? I'm trying to get to them before you guys get to them, right? Because if you guys are going to the county every day to get pre-foreclosures, I just found 1,700 people that are not in pre-foreclosure yet. And if I can get them before they get that recording, I'm beating you guys to the punch. And so that is the foreclosure status. Again, all we're doing is layering. Now we can start playing with the ownership info. So I can play with the years of ownership, the owner type, whether it's corporate owned or individually owned. And I like individuals because I like to knock on their door and sympathize with them and let them know I'm a real person just like they are. I can play with last sell date, last sell price. If I'm looking for an absentee owner, for example, I can even narrow it down to an out-of-state owner. Now, could you imagine living in a different state, owning a property in Jacksonville? Yeah, it's off market, it's not in pre-foreclosure, and now you have a lien on your property? Well, you better figure something out, right? Your next step now is either list it or pay off your lien, or maybe I come calling you and I give you a deal you just can't refuse and you're willing to dump that property to my name. So we can play with out-of-state owner, or if the property is vacant, meaning it's not answering their mail. After ownership info, we have the lien, bankruptcy, and divorce status. And so this is important to this particular search because I am looking for liens. The challenge that you're going to find is if you look at our results, we have some liens that are very low valued, right? Here's one that's 800, one that's 500. They can probably just pay that off on their next paycheck. They're no longer in trouble. How do I make sure that they can't pay it off? I can play with a recording date. Maybe I'm looking for someone that's 12 months into their recording, or a lien amount. I'm looking for the people that have a minimum $5,000 to $25,000 recorded against them or the property. So guess what? Yeah, you may have the property under control, but if you don't pay off this lien, that's going to cause the pre-foreclosure process. And then you guys waiting at the county office are going to see that recording, but I can call them before you guys see that recording. I can choose the lien type, whether it's a tax lien, HOA, whether there's also a bankruptcy or divorce attached to the property. So you guys can see what I'm doing here is just adding layers, and it's summarizing my filter for you. And then the last two sections are value trend. What would you like the estimated value of the property to be? Rental value of the property, whether the property has grown, and whether it has grown over the last few years or so. And last but not least, equity and mortgage information. So some of you guys are going to be looking for people with like a 10% interest rate, or if you're doing subject twos, you're looking for people with like a 90% loan to value ratio. For most of us that are doing wholesaling, we're going to want an estimated equity amount or a percentage, right? I'm looking for properties with at least 60% in equity or more. So as you guys can see, you have over 100 different criteria to choose from. Once you start applying your filters, you're going to hit apply, and now your results are on the right-hand side. We went from 9,000 lien records to 75 that are off market, not in pre-foreclosure, individually owned, single family, multifamily, and they're obviously 60% or equity or more, right? Now I can click on them, and this is when we start running comps and unfolding what's happening with that property. So that is what has made us extremely popular, is that we're no longer, you guys got to get out of the mentality, and I don't mean this to offend, but you guys got to get out of the mentality that I'm just looking for one category. You're now in the era where you can use these filters to come up with things that you never heard about, right? So in this example, I just use liens as the category, and I refined it, right? It's no difference than me going to the county, getting the lien records, and then telling my VA or telling my assistant, hey, go through all these records and find me the single family ones, right? They could have done that manually. Why are we also important is because we can come up with categories that are not even in a category. Like for example, Jacksonville, Florida, instead of going through any of our categories, I can just apply a raw filter. And what I mean by that is I can look for tired landlords, for example. Find me a non-owner occupied property, single family, it's off market, it's not in pre-foreclosure, the owner has owned the property for 10 years or more, it's individually owned, and it has at least, let's say 50% or more in equity. I have 7,000 potential tired landlords that I can market to now. These are people that have, again, lived in their property for 10 years or more. It's non-owner occupied, so they've been clearly renting it out or not, or whatever. Maybe they had it for 10 years and they just kept it abandoned for 10 years. But the point I'm trying to bring to you guys is you guys got to get out of the mentality that I got to find pre-foreclosures, I got to find liens. The mentality I want you guys to start thinking about is you got to come up with a conversational piece, right? No one's just going to sell you their house for any given reason, right? If I have a lot of equity in my property, or if it's free and clear and you knock on my door asking for a discounted price, I'm going to slam that door on your face. But if you come up with a situation, for example, maybe I've owned the property for 10 years, maybe I'm out of state, or maybe there's a lien on the property or a high interest rate on my mortgage, you now have a conversation piece. Whether you decide to tell them up front that situation, you don't need to, right? The idea is you know that in the back of your head that there's a situation on the back end, and hopefully by introducing yourself and letting them know you're a local real estate investor, you're going to be able to get that out of them. And now we're starting to go to the kitchen table and talk numbers. So get out of the mentality that you need to find a certain category and filter that. You just need to come up with a talking point. And just remember, some talking points are more distressed than others. So this is why people like pre-foreclosures. They're the highest distressed property owners, meaning the higher the stress, the higher the discount you're going to get, the faster they're going to sign the contract, right? But competition increases as well. When everybody knows that, everyone's going to go for that. So if you're trying to stay away from competition, use the filter to come up with situations that isn't a highly distressed. Like again, these are people that aren't distressed. These are just people that own the property for 10 years. They're renting it out. Clearly it's not owner occupied. They're not distressed, but these are people that we can't find at the county. We can't go to a recordings office and say, hey, 10 years of ownership, non-owner occupied. There's no list like that out there. So you got to make sure you guys are getting out of that mentality and start coming up with conversational pieces. So I wanted to show you guys the filtering, because that's where the magic is happening. You guys start coming up with these situations that you can talk to individuals about, and you guys are going to find some great leads. Now, I heard someone talk about cash buyers, and I'm very big on that. So here's the thing with cash buyers. I'm going to show you two ways on how to find cash buyers. One is the more traditional route. The other way, you're not going to find in any other platform but PropStream. So let's look at Jacksonville.
Hey,
Go ahead, Antonio.
Burton, I get a lot of people asking me every day, literally every day, 7 days a week in my DMs or YouTube or any social media platform is, how do I find buyers?
Yeah.
So blow their mind away, man. It's not, I always tell them that's really the easiest thing. If you have a deal on the table, cash buyers is usually the easiest thing to find. So go ahead, blow their mind away.
And I'm going to blow you guys away. I'm going to show you how you can do it in two fashions. So the first fashion is the traditional route, which you're going to search an area, and then you're just going to go to our cash buyer records, right? So this is going to show you all the properties that were bought in cash. So I can click on these properties. It's going to tell me the cash sale tab. It's going to tell me what they paid for in cash, the day that it was bought, and the company's name and the address of the company. Now, here's the problem with just cash bought records. Some people buy properties in cash for personal reasons, right? I could buy a property in cash today and live in it. It doesn't mean I'm a cash buyer and I'm going to do it again. So that's where our filtering comes into play. So in our filtering, some of the simple steps that you guys have learned is look for a non-owner occupied cash buyer, right? An investor that's buying a property to rehab it never lives in it. So they buy a property in cash, they fix it up, and then they list it later on or sell it or rent it, whatever the case is. So the first route most people take is they look for a non-owner occupied cash buyer. Then they'll apples to apples, right? So if you have a single family property on contract, you're looking for a single family buyer. You can add your bedrooms and characteristics to narrow down your buyer even further. But the last step that most people do is they go to like ownership info and they play with the last sell date. So they'll do things like find me a buyer from 2018 up until today. So find me a buyer in the last 12 months. So in this case, I have 1,100 potential buyers I can market a contract to, right? The challenge is that's 1,100 buyers I have to skip trace, 1,100 buyers I have to call, 1,100 buyers I have to send postcards to just to hopefully get an answer. That is a very good way to go about it. Again, I've done this in the past and it's worked for me, but you have the filtering process and you have the layering system. I'm going to show you guys how to find buyers using the MLS that you're not going to find in any other platform. And not even a realtor can do this. Okay, so what I normally do is I search an area, in this case, Jacksonville, and I'm looking for non-owner occupied cash buyers. Except what I'm doing now is I'm thinking like a cash buyer. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, what would a cash buyer do? Well, they would buy it in cash, then rehab it, and then list it. So I just need to put that in the filter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a non-owner occupied cash buyer, except this time I'm going to specify when they bought the property. So I'm going to say, hey, I'm looking for a buyer that bought a property, let's say from November 1st of last year to February of this year. So these are buyers that bought within 4 months. So I have 532 of them. But not only do they buy the property, remember, because if I bought the property, I have to rehab it and then list it. So I'm looking for buyers in this time frame between November to February 1st, or let's say February, let's go to February 28th. All right, so they bought it within that 4-month period. Now, how do I know if they're a real buyer? I go to the MLS status and I tell them to go through the list and find me the ones that listed it after they bought it. So I don't know if you guys are catching on what I'm doing, but look in the filter. I'm looking for cash buyers that bought between November and February and then rehabbed it and then listed it on the MLS after March 1st or later. And I can put whether it's sold or it's currently active. And here's why I like this, is because now I'm legitimately verifying that they're a buyer. And how do I do that? I can click on the property. I can see the cash sale. So here's a buyer that bought a property for $228 back in February of this year. Renee's the buyer. Renee lives in Jacksonville. And the MLS listing will show me what it sold for as well. So now I have my buyers, and that's going to work. I keep minimizing it. So in any market. So if I go to like Maricopa County, Arizona, and I do the same thing, it's going to show you what they bought it for. So here's another example, what they bought it for, $486, and what they're listing it for, $629. Did you guys see that? Right? No, we're no longer taking a guess on whether the guy bought it and he's going to use it as an investment property. We know that he's using it as an investment property, because who would buy a property in February for $486 in cash and then 4 months later list it for $629? right? That's not a regular person. That's an investor. And guess what? This investor is going to be making about $150,000 in profit. And I can click on the photos because it's from the MLS, and I can view the rehab that buyer did on that property. So now I know why it was listed for 629 in that market. So you guys see what I'm doing here? We're no longer just looking at raw cash buyer records. We're taking cash bought records and telling the system, well, okay, I have cash bought records, but have any of them listed the property on the market? And there are my results. I have 124 solid cash buyers, people that bought it first and then listed it later at a higher price in Maricopa, Arizona. And this filter can work for any state, any county that you come across. So I hope you guys wrote that down. All I'm doing is making sure that they bought it first and then listed it later. So if you say, hey, they bought it January to March and listed it April or later, you're always going to find these type of leads. Okay. The next step, guys.
Burton,
Go ahead.
I'm seeing a lot of wows come in. People are just blown away. Somebody just said this is phenomenal. But I'm seeing a few people saying they need to leave early, and they're just like people are excited. So people are leaving early, and I've seen a few people say they're like they want to get it right now. So just go to AntonioPropertyData.com. AntonioPropertyData.com. I guess I'm giving you guys a setup.
Don't sign up through us, please, guys. Don't go to PropStream.com and sign up through us. Make sure you're using Antonio's sign up link because you get a discounted price. You get a trial period. So if you go to our website, we're paying a higher price. Do not do that. Make sure to click on his link. Okay, guys?
Yeah. But I mean, people are blown away. I mean, this guy's literally. Somebody says too late. Hey, but anyway, it's cool. Guys, we use this every day. So, I mean, I'm not just having anybody come up here. Like we use this we market for cash buyers. By the way, just say if we're in a market and we have a property in a contract, we don't have cash buyers in that market. We're just cheating our way to success by going right on this tool and data.com, and we'll look at the cash buyers in that area, pull that list of cash buyers the way Burton just showed you, and I'll skip trace them, which you'll show them later, Burton, how to skip trace them here, and I'll send them a text blast. Hey, I got a property under contract, or hey, I got a sweet wholesale deal available in what's this? Whatever county. Yeah. This market in Arizona, $100,000 is worth $200,000 fixed up, and then they'll text me back, or I'll also send them a ringless voicemail. I'll do a cold call, and this is how you get cash buyers, and you sell your wholesale deals like this if you don't have cash buyers already.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you mentioning that because again, it's all about creativity. The filter is going to allow you to layer different things back and forth. And again, if you guys if you sit there and think about the way I've always looked at it, my mentor has always told me, Burton, if you can come up with a talking point, a conversational piece, that's what's going to get you the lead, right? It doesn't have to be a pre-foreclosure. Sure, pre-foreclosures, they're probably going to sign faster, but in the name of real estate investing, you just want a conversational piece. If you can come up with a conversational piece, you get it. But not only are you able to filter and get your results, whether it's cash buyers or motivated sellers, but the last thing that we allow you to do is you can save that search and save notifications. So we can name the search. I can call it the cash buyers list. I can apply my summary, the details of my filter. I can create a box at the top if I want to replace it. But then most importantly, I can set up an email notification. So if I create a saved search for tax liens that are off market, not in pre-foreclosure, I can tell the system, hey, anytime you're updating in my market and a property with the same criteria populates, email me immediately, or email me daily, or email me weekly. So literally you don't have to do much but save that filter once and just sit back and relax, because we're going to start populating. We're going to email you. So if you have an Apple Watch or a smartphone, you're going to be getting emails either on an immediate basis, daily or weekly, letting you know, hey, 10 more pre-foreclosures showed up, or 50 more off-market tax liens with your criteria showed up, or 5 more cash buyers in your market just showed up that sold their property after buying it. So make sure you guys use that safe search filter. Again, the next thing you want to do is click on your properties. And again, in this case, find what the buyer bought it for and what they're listing it for. And then last thing you can do is you can then check off your results. This is what Antonio was talking about. You can check off all of your results or just the few that you like. All right, so you can check them all off. You can add it to a list, and that's pretty much where we wrap up the search page. So I can call this the Arizona buyers using MLS, hit save. And this is where most of you guys are gonna pretty much call it a day. Once you create your marketing lists from the results that you've pulled, you can go to the properties page on the left-hand side. You can find your buyers list. So my Arizona buyers using MLS. Here they are. You can check on the properties one more time, kind of analyze it one last time. You can check them off and remove them if you don't need them. Maybe one of your buyers gave you an attitude, so let's delete them. Or you can check them all off and hit that export button, and now you guys have a CSV file. So if you have a different skip tracing provider or different marketing provider, build that list, hit the export button, you'll get that CSV file, and we'll see you guys later. For those of you guys that don't have that availability, we have the skip tracing feature on the left-hand side. So here on the left-hand side, once you build your list, you can click on skip tracing, and it's 3 simple steps. Step 1, choose your lists. I'm actually gonna do this in front of you guys today. So here's my Arizona buyers. I'm gonna add them so they're all selected. I'm gonna hit done. It's gonna tell me how many have been selected. It's gonna tell me the costs. I'm gonna place the order. I'm gonna rename the list, buyers using MLS, Arizona. I'm gonna place done. And anytime I skip trace, it's gonna get stored in the contacts page. So I'm gonna go to contacts, and I'm gonna look for my list here. So it usually has the date. So we're gonna find my buyers using MLS in Arizona. So here they are. It's processing right now. We're starting to get phone numbers and emails. But what's gonna happen in about 10, 15 minutes is it's gonna look like this, where it's processing, and it's gonna say completed, and it's gonna look like, oh, that's one, here's what it's gonna look like. It's gonna say completed, and we're gonna automatically put the phone numbers and emails in there for you. So just to give you an idea, when it's processing, 10, 15 minutes later, literally 10, 15 minutes later, it's gonna look like this, and we're gonna give you the phone numbers and emails. So now I can check those guys off and hit the export button, and I can start cold calling, or let my VA start calling, or my assistant start cold calling. Now, let's say you're working full-time or you don't have a VA to work with. That's where our campaign section comes into play. So our campaign section, I won't go into detail on how to set one up. We do have a help tab that's gonna help you with that. But in the campaign section, the idea here is now that I've built a list of, let's say, cash buyers or tax liens, and I've skip traced them, I can now create a campaign. So buyers campaign, number, let's say 5, 6, we'll put some random numbers. I'm gonna choose my list that I'm gonna campaign to. So in this case, I'm gonna find my skip tracing list, the 106 people, and I'm gonna save that campaign and start that campaign. Now, when I start a campaign, this is what a campaign is gonna look like. It's gonna tell you when you created it. It's gonna give you a free website. You get a free website to create, and the reason why we're doing that is you're gonna have different campaigns. You're gonna have a campaign for buyers, a campaign for tax liens, a campaign for pre-foreclosures. And we want you to be a little bit more professional. And what I mean by that is we don't want you to use the same website for every 3 category. So as you can see here on my left side, I have 60 different campaigns created. Every one of them has its own website. The idea here is that these 3 people, they'll go to this website, and this website will caretake to them and them only. So it'll say things like, I buy houses in 30 days, I'll cash you out in 30 days. But if I'm doing a buyer's campaign, my campaign is going to say something else, like I closed, the ARV on the property is $140,000 or something like that, right? So the goal with the campaign and the landing page is that we want to make sure that you caretake to that audience and that audience only. Once you create your campaign, you'll then be able to essentially here. Once you create your website, you'll then be able to start doing your activities. So we can send postcards directly. We can do ringless voicemail drops, or email campaigns. So I hope you guys see what we're trying to do. Again, I know we're no different than any other data provider out there. We pull records for you, but I think what has defined who we are is the ability to create things that you can't find at a county office. And again, like with the cash buyers, if you're layering things correctly, you'll be able to find some unique situations or a motivated list that you normally wouldn't come across again at a county's office. From there, you can run comps using MLS records, county records. You can purchase the grant deed. You can skip trace them to get their phone numbers and emails and then market to them. So if you're doing it just right, we should be able to help you take care of about 90% of your real estate investing needs. The 10% is the negotiation part, the closing the deal part. That we can't help you with, guys. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Antonio, thank you for having me. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to address them, unless we don't have enough time. I know it's like 9 o'clock over there in your area. So if you guys have questions, make sure to email us. The help tab on the left-hand side has a full detailed overview video. So if you want to know how to set up postcards, how to set up emails, voicemails, make sure to go to the overview video in the help tab. And we also have our 800 number and our email at the top. And the last thing I'm going to say, guys, again, do not go to our website to sign up. If you did by accident, email us. Let us know that Antonio was the one that recommended it to you. We'll make sure that you guys get his discounted price, okay? But make sure you guys go to antoniopropertydata.com and get that information, okay?
Yeah, just quickly show them the link on your tab, Antonio Property Data, so they can.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me what, like, was it the real link or something like that? I saw, so they can see. Like,
so when you go to that page, guys, this is what you're going to see. First name, last name, email, and then go from there. And just a little update, but you guys will get his discounted price. You guys will get a trial period. If you guys have any questions, you guys have our support team. We don't hide. We don't do that. You can literally speak through the live representative. I'm also answering the phone calls too. So you call in, you might even speak to me directly. Like, that's how like effective we are. We want to make sure that you guys are dialed in. Again, we don't help with investment strategies. That's Antonio's job. Get with him. He's going to help you guys, with the scripts if he has them, or contracts if he has them. But when it comes to the data pulling, if you have any questions regarding that and or PropStream in general, give us a call. We're here to help with that.
absolutely. So any guys, any last minute questions? See what some people probably type in. Here's some ways that we used some of the lists. So just say, for an example, like we literally yesterday, because real quick, Burton, how often do you guys update data?
That's a great question. We update every day. So the way it works is, let me kind of clarify things. There's two types of updates. We as a company will update anything that comes in every day, right? But the problem is that every county has a different update schedule. Like, for example, I know you guys are in Texas, so some of you are here. Some parts of Texas, they only push records once a month. So if you're virtual wholesaling in Texas and you didn't know that, you're going to be slightly upset. You're going to call in and say, Burton, I'm not getting daily updates in Texas. And that's because Texas, some of their areas do a 1 month frequency. So we update every day. It's just counties don't update every day. And the best way to find that out, and actually show you guys really quick, when you're in your application, and let's say we go to Jacksonville here. So let me show you a prime example here. Let me get this out of the way. So I think I closed out of my screen. So here we go. 1 second here. So when you are, looks like I logged myself out. I'm sorry. So when you're in an area and you search a category, it's going to tell you the last recorded date on that category. So if I'm looking for pre-foreclosures in Jacksonville, here's an idea here. So if I go to Jacksonville and I click on, for example, the MLS box, it's going to say, hey, Burton, the last update that we did in the MLS section was on the 19th, which was literally just 2 days ago. So in this market, Jacksonville MLSs are about 24 to 48 hour period. But if I go to the foreclosure, pre-foreclosure, because remember, MLS data is not the same as county records. So if I go to the pre-foreclosure, it says, hey, Burton, the last pre-foreclosure record we got from Jacksonville was on the 14th, which is 7 days ago. So just know that every category is different. We don't update every category the same day. Some of these are going to have different recordings. So pre-foreclosure was on the 14th. If I go to the foreclosure, there was one on the 16th. If I go to liens, that was on the 8th. So we update every day. Just know that not every county updates every day. We push whatever they give us. So if they give it to us once a week, then we'll push it on the Tuesday the day after, or the Wednesday the day after. So I know it's a cop-out answer. I know it's vague, but there's really no like definite answer that, hey, everyone does it. Everyone has to do it on a Wednesday, or everyone has to do it on the first month of every month kind of a thing, or first day of every month. So I just want to give you that answer. Best way to identify it is click on the category and you'll be able to see the last date. And you can go down the list and it'll tell you the next day. So every 2 days. So we did one on the 14th. We did one on the 12th. This area is doing pre-foreclosure records about every 2 to 3 days. Okay. So hope that answered the question there. I'll give you back the screen.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, a lot of people saying they're sold. Billy said, I'm signing up tonight, all caps. I mean, guys, I mean, this is a no-brainer. This is like, you can just tell, like, this is it. This is what you guys need. This is not a want. This is a need for your wholesaling business. Tavis or Tavis, hope I said that right. He said, is this like ListSource but on steroids?
Yeah, actually, and I like that you said that, Tavis, because I use ListSource and I love both. I really do. The difference with ListSource is that when you go to ListSource and you buy a list from them, you don't really get to qualify it, right? Like, so if I go to ListSource, let's say I go to Jacksonville and ListSource and I say, hey, find me the non-owner occupied pre-foreclosures with 60% or more in equity. The thing with ListSource is I'll get the 74 results plus or minus, but I don't get to see the details. And you guys know this. For those of you guys that are listening using ListSource, you don't get the details. They just literally give you the Excel sheet and you have 74 addresses that you have to figure out information. You have to either take their word on it or, you know, use it in our system. So what I've done is I'll go to ListSource, I'll get like 10 addresses from them or like 100 addresses from them. And for the ones that I'm like skeptical on, I'll just go to the search bar and I'll type in the address manually. So for those of you guys that are driving for dollars, or again, you got a list from a different provider and you just want to know our details, type in that address manually and we give you the property details. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is that ListSource would just give you a list. That's why they're called ListSource. We give you the same list, but we give you the details with that. So I can take their 100 results that they just sold me, and then through searching them manually, the system is going to tell me, hey, Burton, you know what? Of the 100 that you just pulled from ListSource, only 90 of them have 70% in equity. So guess what? I just saved myself 10 addresses to send postcards to, or 10 addresses that I don't need to skip trace to. So I don't want to like throw anybody under the bus because again, I'm using them. Like I love ListSource. I use them. The only difference is that how we present data is a lot different than them. As a matter of fact, I do use ListSource. But the thing with ListSource too is besides them not giving us data, they don't do anything else but give you the list. So what our system allows you to do is actually import. We have an import button in our contacts page. So I can import that ListSource list and then skip trace it and market to it, right? So because ListSource doesn't have that. So I already have PropStream. If I'm gonna be using ListSource or someone says, hey, Burton, here's 10 addresses that are in probate, I can import that list just like I did here. Here's an outside list that I did, and then I can skip trace them and market to it. So we can caretake to a list that you build from us or a list that you're importing from outside of our system. So on steroids, to say the least, maybe.
All right, so we have a question. I think this was a pretty good question.
You broke up a little bit, Tony. I think you're muted.
Yep, you're right. I was muted. All right, so I got a question from Sabine. I think is this. She said, "Is this skip trace included? If not, like, what's the monthly charge? What's the price per skip?"
Well, the skip tracing is included. It's part of the monthly subscription, but it is an additional cost. So the skip tracing, there's no minimum or maximum. You can do one address if you're driving for dollars. 100 addresses if you have 100 that you built. The cost 30 cents per address, but the way it works is we put the hold amount first. So if you've got 10 addresses, 30 cents times 10, put a $3 hold on your card. We want to make sure that you have the funds, right? After we put the hold amount, we then go get the results and we only charge you for the results. As a matter of fact, I appreciate you bringing that up. I don't know, I think my results have come in already. I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that. So here are, let's look for the results I did. So here's the 106 cash buyers I just did. Here are the phone numbers. You see that? So what I mean by that is I did 106 addresses. You guys saw $28 during that processing. But when I click view summary, it says, hey, Burton, we only got 23, right? So you're only going to get charged for $6.90. Now you guys are wondering, well, that's pretty bad, Burton. Why is it so much or so low? We can't skip trace corporations, and you guys are very aware of that. Corporations, we ignore.
I don't think a lot of them know that they can't skip trace LLCs. You want to talk about?
A lot of people, you got to know that skip tracing LLCs. My best practice, Google the name. To copy the address, copy the business name, Google it with the city, and you should hopefully find their homepage. So my best practice advice for you guys there.
Tip, this is what a little extra step we do, which another way is going to kill your competition, how we're doing more deals. So this is how we'll skip trace LLCs or corporate owners. We'll just go to, just say my market is Virginia. I will Google Virginia business entity search. I would take that LLC that you saw on Burton's screen, copy and paste that on the business entity search, and then it's going to tell me who's the owner of the LLC. So if it's Burton Smith, I would be like, okay, Burton Smith is the owner. I would just basically switch out the LLC on that list and put Burton Smith. Now I got the real name that I can skip trace, and now that's going to give me skip traces.
And it's brilliant that you said that, because you can actually do that in our system. So, and that's done in the contacts page. So you can go to the contacts page. Let's say I found out that Adam Smith actually owns this property. I can click on it and actually put Adam Smith, save it. And now that his name has been changed, and let me look for Mr. Adam Smith. Here it is, Adam Smith. Now that I have him here, I can check off his name and I can actually skip trace that one address if I wanted to. So I wanted to show you guys that. So very powerful way of finding people and manually skip. So here's just an example, Adam Smith, and then what you can do is you can check off their name. Oh, you know what? I did that from the, I should have not done that. I just changed the name in one of my skip tracing results. So don't do that. Okay, but if you find a name, you can click on it, change it manually, and then you can check mark a name. Make sure it's not in one of your skip tracing results like I did, but you can check mark one of the names and just skip trace that one address only. So just like Antonio says, if you find the name of the business owner through that website, just go to our contacts page, find the name of the company, put their first name and last name, hit save, put a check mark next to their name, and then just hit append info at the top, and it'll skip trace just that one address for you guys. So I hope that helps.
Boom. All right. So I got another, I seen this a couple times. They're saying basically with the trial is 50 addresses all they get. And then once the free trial is over, how many records can they pull a month?
10,000. So the way it works is that during the trial period, you get unlimited searches. You can filter as many results as you want. Like you can literally go through all of our bankruptcy records. You can go through all of our pre-foreclosure. You can literally go through 1 million records. We don't care. When it comes to saving and exporting, during the trial period, you only get 50 properties. During an active subscription, it's 10,000 every month. So again, unlimited searches. You can search 1 million properties, go through 1 million records. But when it comes to saving, you only get 10,000 every month. And it's a monthly subscription, guys. We don't do that. You're in for a year type of deal and tough luck, you can't cancel. No, we don't do that. It's a month-to-month subscription. That's it. I have people that use our product during the summer. They go offline for the fourth quarter, and then we see them the next summer. So you guys can do that. We're very flexible. We don't delete anything. Anything you save will be stored. We also don't do duplicates. So if I save 1,000 addresses last month, and this next month, I, by accident, save those same 1,000 addresses, they don't count against you at all. As a matter of fact, we won't even skip trace them either, because our system knows, hey, you've already skip traced them, so we're not going to try to double charge you or anything like that.
That's sweet. I mean, we use this every day. I mean, this is how we acquire leads. One of the main ways how we acquire leads is 99% of our wholesale deals come from data, a list. And in today's market, you need a list, guys. I mean, I'm just being real with you. You need a list, whether it's through this way or some other sources. You need a list to do wholesale deals. And I mean, that list can be vacant properties. That list can be like Burton was going over pre-foreclosures. It can be liens, tax liens. You still need a list. You need to skip trace that list, which they have had guys before you. And this is the way we're marketing. We're doing cold calling to that list, that list. We're doing text blast to that same list. We're doing ringless voicemail, RVM, to that same list. You need the numbers for all three of those, and then we do direct mail to that list. So we're hitting them 4 different ways. And you can get a list right now if you wanted to. You can build your list. He showed you how to do the filters, and you can append them right there. You get results back in 15, 20 minutes. And for your homeowners, not the cash buyer, he was showing you the skip trace for the cash buyers. But for your homeowners that have individual names, not corporate names, your results for skip trace is going to be way better than what you saw. What's really the conversion rate on that, or getting numbers back on, just say like 1,000 individual?
Good question. It's a hard question, and this is me being very transparent as possible. No one should be giving you an accuracy percentage. I know we like to get that information, but it's really hard to say that because, I mean, we can find a provider that's giving us fake numbers and they can always give us 100% results, right? So it's hard to answer that question. So let me kind of give you how we go about it. Our provider, and you guys are going to realize that there's tons of skip tracing providers out there. So our provider, the reason why we went with them is rather than pricing and how they price you, because some providers only charge you for the service and not for the results like we do. But what you have to also know is the source that they're pulling from. That's the key part, right? A lot of investors I speak to when I'm on the road, they're like, oh, well, I found the skip tracing provider for 15 cents an address. And I'm like, well, great. What are your results like, right? And not only that, I'll ask them, what data are they pulling their phone numbers and emails from? And they can never answer that question. So you guys have to understand that it's not just pricing that's important, it's the source. So I can't give you an accuracy usually, and I mean, I can show you my lists. If it's like a business address, we don't skip trace, but I have tons of skip tracing that you can see. Here's 39. Most of them are getting results. Here's one with 196. Most of them are getting results. Here's one with 51. Most of them are getting results. But it's not just the success rate. It's this that you'll see when you do the skip tracing. Our source is only looking through credit bureau related data, meaning they're only looking at mortgage applications, auto loan applications, credit score applications, and that is it. Because the reality is, we don't know if these numbers are really accurate or not, but depending on the source that you're pulling them from will increase that accuracy or not. And the reason why we went with this provider is because when you do enough research, you're gonna realize that some providers out there are giving you grocery survey phone numbers and emails. And I don't know about you guys, but I've through my life of shopping, so many people have come up to me to take a survey at a grocery store, and I never put the right phone number. I never put the right emails. So remember, skip tracing providers, they're in the business of making money. And some of these guys don't care if they're giving you that fake number on the survey because they just need your money. We went with a provider that's only going through credit bureau data. So again, this phone number, this landline, this email, we gave it to you because we found it on a mortgage application, an auto loan application, or a credit score check application. So I hope that answers your question. I know it's a cop-out answer, but no one, and I mean no one, I've been working with data, again, a little bit over nearly a decade now, no one should be providing you a percentage of accuracy. If they are, they're lying through their teeth, because unless they have someone in a dark room calling every phone number to make sure that it's the right number, that is not the case. And I'll give you another example. Even our data can have some discrepancies. Like I've done it. So we pull data from mortgage records, right? We pull data from auto loans and credit score checks. So here's a primary example of where information can be inaccurate. If I'm doing a credit score check, but my phone is disconnected, who is stopping me from putting a disconnected phone number on that application? Nobody. So if you were to skip trace me, you're going to get a phone number that's on a credit score application, which is most likely a very accurate number, but no one knows whether they've been paying the bill or not, right? So it's kind of like the lesser of two evils. Do we give you the survey phone number, or do we give you the mortgage application phone number? We're going by this, but even then, we don't know if that phone bill has been paid or not, right? And that's my answer to that question. I know it's a cop-out answer, but I can't give you guys a percentage.
I got a question from Lynette. She elaborated on this question a little more, but basically, I get it now. She's saying she's in Texas. She's a Texan.
Yeah.
And she's basically asking what other categories that are in this system that aren't available to people that live in Texas like herself.
Well, no, you get access to everything in Texas. Like there are no categories that are not taken from you. The issue with Texas is actually, let me show you what I mean by that. So when we're in Texas, and I'm going to use Dallas as an example, you got to be careful because what we do in a non-disclosure state is, the first thing you got to understand is when you're in a non-disclosure state, the only thing that's withheld from you is sell records. So you're never going to know what a property sold for from the county. The county is never going to give you that information, right? So if I go to Dallas and I look at a high equity property and I click on one of them, for example, it's going to say, hey, the property sold for $585 back in last month. But when I actually go to the details, And here, last sell, because we don't get the information from the county directly because they won't give it to us, we're getting it from a title company. See miscellaneous information? The title company is giving it to us. And because we're getting it from the title company and not from the actual county, it's actually an estimated sell price. So this is not the real sell price. So that's where you got to be careful. When you're in a non-disclosure state, these sell prices that you're going to see, as a matter of fact, when I go to the comparables, this is what I told you earlier, when you're in a non-disclosure state and you go to comparables, county records, which is comps, and neighboring records, which comes from the county, these will not work for you. For example, here's one that says, hey, a property sold for $312,000, right? So I'm sitting here thinking, oh, $312,000 is what that property sold for. But if I go to the details of that property that just sold, and I go to the last sell information, it's going to say that that amount is actually an estimated sell price. So guess what? This is wrong. I don't want to give that to anybody because I'm going to look like a fool. This is why in a non-disclosure state we've gotten very popular, is because we give you the MLS records. So we can say, show me all the sold records in the last 3 months. And the reason why that's important is because MLS records have nothing to do with the county records. So when I'm pulling MLS records, I can go to the details. And the thing that I'm going to do when I go to an MLS property is I ignore this. I don't even look at that. I go straight to MLS details and I see what it was listed for and what it actually sold for. And this is why in a non-disclosure state, most people that don't have access to the MLS have to call an agent to run comps, because agents are the only ones that have access to MLS. But now that you have access to MLS in our database, you can just go to the comparables of any property in a non-disclosure state and just go through the MLS listings just like an agent would, and go through the sold listings and go, instead of looking at the sell amount up here, you're going to want to go to the MLS details and copy the sell amount in the details of the MLS. So I hope that answers your question.
Definitely solid. I just want to show this right here. Like this check just came in our office mail today. You can see that, guys, for $4,465. I call this a base hit deal, guys. This is a small wholesale deal. Base hit deals pay the bills. My home run deals add to my retirement portfolio and my retirement account. But this right here was we just pulled the vacant property list inside of this system here, literally vacant property list. And we did absentee owner vacant property list, and we scored a deal right here. I got 2 more deals closing this week and 4 next week. I mean,
nice.
Yeah, this is not a bad deal. This is a base hit deal. It's a small base hit deal, but I mean, guys, just imagine one of these a month, during this part time. I mean, but you need data. I mean, for those out there that are still, slaving their life away, putting out bandit signs, and I'm not knocking bandit signs. They do work when if you put out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds a month. But that is a lot of work. I mean, we're literally just killing competition just by pulling data, pulling the right data, which, this system has, and we're skip tracing that data. And we're beating people to the punch. Like you said earlier, Burton, and people that's going to the county record, that's the county office. I mean, you guys had the data right here where you can pull it, and we just beating people to the punch and getting people right on the phones by sending a ringless voicemail, cold call, text blast. And by the way, we use textmagic.com for text blasting. Really cool way. Once you get the list and skip trace that list within this system that he showed you, we just export that list and import it right on textmagic.com and send a text blast. Like literally, we'll be like, hello, Burton, I would like to buy your property at 123 Main Street. And it just customizes. If we send out to 1,000 people, that text magic allows you to send to 1,000 people, and it sounds like you're sending a customized text message. But you need that data first. You need to skip trace that data, and this is it. I mean, there's no reason why you guys shouldn't be doing some wholesale deals after tonight. I want you guys to succeed. I don't know if anybody got any more really questions coming in, but guys, go to AntonioPropertyData.com if you haven't signed up already. AntonioPropertyData.com. You got anything else, Burton?
No, that's it. Again, guys, don't sign up directly to our website. Go to that link to get the discounted price in the trial period. And again, you guys have us. So I know that Antonio, this is recorded. Antonio's going to post it up for you guys. So go through this again, kind of get an idea, but don't hesitate to reach out to us. You guys are going to have questions. Get rid of the fear of talking to someone, because this is an industry where you're going to be talking all day long. So make sure to call us, guys, if you have any questions or any, hey, Burton, can you show me that cash buyer filter again or something like that? Again, our team is here to help you out.
Sweet. I definitely appreciate your time, Bert, man. This is awesome. You seem like every time that you pull back the curtain and show me little tricks, I learn like a little thing every time. Like I'm like, now
Man,
I'm like, ooh.
you and me both. Like the other day I was talking to a contractor who was using our product, and I was like confused. I was like, what are you doing? And actually, let me show you what he did. This blew my mind. I was like, what the heck? So what this guy was doing is he was, let's say Jacksonville, for example, he would go to our field because he's a roofer. And so he was just trying to provide roofing service. But what he would do is he would find owner-occupied properties that were on the MLS, but they were built between 1980 and 1990, right? So they're about 20, 30 years old now. And he was looking for all the ones that just sold on the MLS and they were individually owned. So I was jaw-dropped. I was like, wait, you're not an investor? He's like, no, I'm just calling these people to see if they would need a new roof. And he used our system to find those people. Again, these were people that just bought a property either a few months ago, and that property is built between 1980 and 1990, meaning that the thing they need to do next is probably the roof. And if they do it, it's going to increase their value. So I was just like, I had to give the guy a round of applause. Like he wasn't an investor. He saw our data and he realized, you know what, I can manipulate the filter to find my leads, and I'm a contractor. So again, guys, get creative, because that's how you're going to find those leads that you're not going to find at the county recordings office. So you, me both, Antonio. I'm always finding something new, and I'm always willing to share it with you guys. So till the next time,
Hey,
right?
one more cool thing. I think you have to share this, man. When you were showing me a while back, because a lot of people out here, they just watching this, they want to learn how to wholesale properties, right?
Yeah.
But they don't know how to determine the repairs of the property. So
Let's show them that. Oh my God.
Like that is huge. Like that, if you haven't signed up yet, guys, I mean, this alone it helps you determine your repairs of the property.
Correct. And the way to do that, guys, it's in every property itself now. So all you have to do is find a property and click on it. And then at the top right, you're going to see this button called the rehab calculator. And that's what we're talking about. So no more guessing, guys, literally no more guessing. Like no more saying, oh, I think the rehab is going to be $20,000 in this area. Because if you guess, you're taking away from your assignment fee, especially if you're like 5,000 over or something like that. So the way that this works is when you pull a property, click on the rehab calculator, and we're going to send you to bluehammer.com. And what bluehammer.com is going to allow you to do is choose a project. You're going to be able to say, hey, I want to do a bathroom project, or I need this item or that item or this item in my kitchen. And then what Bluehammer is going to do is it's going to say, well, if that's the case, in this zip code, this is what the average price is for that line item, or how many hours it would take for that job to be done. And then it's going to give you that price. So here's how it works. Once you click on it, sorry, there's a little lag on my end, but once you click on it, it's going to tell you to start a project, and then you're going to name that project. There it is. So I'm going to start a project and name it. You can name it whatever you want. You're going to go ahead and click on Let's Go. And at this point, guys, again, it's up to you. If you're an advanced rehabber, right? For some of you guys that know what you're doing, you can search by those individual actions. Like I want a toilet bar installed in my, or the toilet paper bar installed in the bathroom, or I need a medicine cabinet. So again, individual actions. This is for the advanced rehabbers. You get tons of subcategories to choose from. Or you're like me, you absolutely have no idea. So you can go to popular projects and you can choose a subcategory. This is what most rehabbers are doing, right? Painting the exterior, the interior, doing bathrooms, garage. But let's say we're doing the bathroom, right? So we walked into the house, the bathroom is just destroyed. We have to do everything. So we can do a complete remodel. We can choose the remodel that we're doing. So when we walked in there, was it just a shower only? Was it a tub and a shower? Or was it the tub in one corner, shower in another corner? So let's say it's shower only. We're going to use natural stone. Now we get to choose the quality that we're using, right? Is it a designer replacement that we're doing, or just a cheap one, or somewhere in between? and then where are you making these repairs? So these repairs will be made in the bathroom. And in just a second, guys, you now have the local level cost. So instead of saying, hey, it's $20,000 for that rehab, well, there goes $7,000 away from our assignment fee, right? Well, it's now $13,000. And it's not just telling you what the average is, it's telling you what it would be if you did it yourself, but it's also giving you all the line items. So here's what Blue Hammer is really doing. They go to a zip code, they look at all the contractors' invoices for a complete bathroom remodel, they average the cost. So some contractors are doing it for $18,000, some contractors are doing it for $12,000, $9,000, $11,000, $14,000. They're taking all those variables and averaging out. So this is not to say that this is the exact amount, but to say, hey, on an average, this is where the contractor should be at. And not only is it doing that, but it's going through all the invoices and pulling all the line items that it would take to complete that project. Things that you wouldn't even think about, like removing the toilet, right? That's a given. But what about removing the trash and bringing it to the trash bin, right? Because the trash has to go from bathroom to the truck. And that's not free, right? In this market, it takes about 2 hours with an average of $46 per hour. So that's going to be about $92 just to move that trash. And that's why we partner up with Blue Hammer. They actually, companies like insurance companies like Esurance, AG, people that, the companies that do property damage claims, they're using Blue Hammer. So again, this is just to let you guys, especially if you're virtual wholesaling or you're in a market that you're not familiar with and you don't want to take guesses on rehab, Blue Hammer, that's going to give you guys the answer there.
And just to give you guys an extra nugget, a lot of people, they're loving this, Burton. Hakeem said this is pretty dope. Justin said, wow, great, gold nuggets right here. A lot of people thanking us on this, man. But anyway, because this price, this 13, can you scroll down to that price a little bit? So $13,000, that's the average price of what a bathroom costs in that neighborhood. That lets me know that's a retail price. Now, we know investors, our cash buyers, aren't paying $13,000 for a bathroom. So what I'll do, I'll look at this number in Blue Hammer and chop that in half. So I know my cash buyer, because he's doing consistent rehab jobs, right? That means he's going to get a discount from his contractor. So he's probably going to pay about $65, basically half of that, a little over $6,500 for a bathroom. And that's how you do it. You go to Blue Hammer, chop it in half, and go, okay, boom, $6,500, $6,700. That's cost for a bathroom. Or just say I had 2 bathrooms, you just basically times it 6,500 times or whatever, half of that times 2, which is almost that price right there. So.
Or you can stack projects, actually. I like that you brought that up, because once you do the bathroom, you can say, well, I need another one. I got to do the kitchen. I got to do the cabinets and countertops, replace it with a small kitchen layout, good material, make it in the kitchen. And then it just calculates, it gives you your bathroom line items, your kitchen line items, and it tells you what, on the project report, it tells you your full project summary. It says, okay, well, if you do the kitchen cabinet, countertops, and that complete remodel, here are all your line items. Here's your total costs and your do-it-yourself costs. And again, do-it-yourself cost is usually what the buyers are usually paying. It's about half, right? So,
boom. He just gave you guys a gold nugget there. It's usually half of that. The estimated total is usually half of that for your cash buyers. Now, if it's just a regular Tom and Joe married couple that just randomly needed a kitchen and bathroom, and they've been living there for 10 years in their property, yeah, they're going to pay that $24,000. The cash buyers going to pay half of that. So. Somebody said, Burton, they said, William said, I'm not even watching the presentation. I'm already looking for my properties.
I would be doing too, man. I mean, time is of the essence. We sleep a lot of it during the day, and most of us work during the day. So this technology, guys, I'm telling you, technology has been the biggest change in our industry, and it's not going to stop. That's where we have gotten very popular, is because we're able to pull leads that, again, you can't find at a county, right? These tired landlords, there's no tired landlord list at the county clerk's office. You can't come up with that stuff. So the filtering and manipulating the data and coming up with these conversational pieces that you wouldn't have never thought about, that's the moneymaker, guys. So I hope you have fun with that.
Sweet. So I know, wow, we had so much fun, great content shared, great value. It was spending like an hour and 15 minutes. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, I got nothing but time for you investors, man. You guys make money, we make money, so happy. And I'm always here to help you guys. So anything, again, we don't hide behind no velvet screen. This is not, you're going to see me only on a webinar and never talk to me. I answer phone calls. I'm getting very, very popular nowadays. So, but feel free to call and say, hey, I want to talk to Burton. I'd like to speak to him. And if I have the time and the place for you, you're going to speak to me directly. So we'll go from there.
Yeah. So guys, go ahead and use this system. Somebody asked, what do I use for skip tracing? We like the one-off skip traces in this system here. What we use back, we have back skip tracing out there that we use. But what I like, just say if you're like driving for dollars, for an example, you saw a vacant or the house, like, and you just need that one property, you can come right in here into the system and just plug in that address, and you just get that phone number right off the bat. Correct. Now, if that address name is, if it's in the name of an LLC, remember you got to go to your business entity search, get the person's personal name, that corporation personal name, then you plug in, and then it give you the skip tracing for that. So, yep. Somebody said thanks for the plug, and this is the plug. This is it. Yeah. This is literally what we use.
And it isn't stopping, guys. We're working on some bigger stuff on the back end. Mobile app is coming with a very unique twist to it. You're not going to see anything like it in the market. We're not trying to make a mobile app that's copy and paste to what you see now. Our mobile app is going to, I know a lot of you guys are driving for dollars. Trust me, we're going to accommodate that. So mobile app is we're working on now. We have new list types. I know our company has been looking into probates, which we don't have right now. We're always making sure we get the latest and updated pre-foreclosure lists. But we're not perfect, guys. I mean, we're dealing with 200 million property records. I'm sure you guys are going to come across a situation where we don't have a property that's listed, but it is listed. Like if you're an agent, hey, how come you don't have it? I have it. Call and let us know, because that way we can see if there's a bug. Maybe we do have it, it's not showing up, or we can tell you, we're honest. We'll let you know we don't have it, but we actually will go get it and we'll give you an ETA. We'll say, hey, you know what? We don't have it, but we're talking to our providers in that area. We can probably get it in about a week or two. If you guys are willing to wait, we're always willing to help, but you got to let us know. We got to work together, right? Don't expect us to have everything. We don't. We're not perfect. So if you guys see us slipping, you guys let us know so we can correct that.
All right, sweet. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. I mean, this was a phenomenal night of just pure content. I mean, you guys have no excuse. You know how to find seller leads. You know how to find cash buyer leads. You know how to run comps. You know how to analyze, get some repairs. Skip trace is all in one house. So just guys, go ahead to AntonioPropertyData.com. I'm going to plug it right here in the chat box one more time. It's a 7-day free trial that we know we're offering as a special. Just going through this link right here, Antonio Property Data. I think that's it for the night for me, man. Anything else on your end, Burton?
No, I'm pretty much done. Just got to go pick up my kid and make some dinner. And you guys have a great night. I'll be here tomorrow. You guys want to chat with me? And then I'm sure, me and Antonio will probably plan something. We'll probably do another one of these down the road if you guys need it. So make sure you guys let them know. If you guys would like a more detailed one, maybe perhaps we can do that for you guys if you have the time.
People felt this tonight. Somebody said this felt like the 49 gold rush.
Well, it's funny. Data is the next gold rush. I hate to say it, but I mean, look at Facebook, Twitter, all these companies that are free, billion-dollar companies, trillion-dollar companies. Data is a thing. And guess what? Real estate industry, we're not going to dodge that. We're part of that, right? So the more data you can get that others don't have, and again, it's all about the filtering. You can come up with things that people have never heard about. That's where the money is at. So good luck with all that, guys. Again, if you need any help, don't hesitate to reach out.
Yep. Have a great night, guys. And this is it. This is your wholesaling business in a box. And you guys have a great night. AntonioPropertyData.com. We'll see you soon. Take care.
Take care, guys.